I went to the hospital for a prenatal checkup with my 5-month pregnant belly. The doctor glanced at me and said, "Did you find another man?" I was stunned for a moment, then got angry and retorted, "You're a doctor. Why aren't you focusing on treating me and spreading rumors?" He looked at me for a long time, took off his glasses, his eyes dark as ink, stood up, and walked over to me. "Joy, I am John." He emphasized the last 2 words heavily, as if reminding me of something. John. Oh no. My unlucky husband from the whirlwind marriage had been living apart since then. He seemed to enjoy my expression of surprise and guilt, looking at me with a teasing face, as if waiting for me to give him a satisfactory answer. 5 months ago, to deal with my nagging mom who was pressuring me to get married, I agreed to go on a blind date. According to my mom, he was the son of her best friend, a doctor with mild OCD, no bad habits, living a life between home and work. She swore on her chest that he was an absolutely 1 in a million good man and insisted I must bring him home. So, when I met this doctor, I directly said, "Joy Wilson, 27 years old, no exes, no diseases, no bad habits. I am an agent. Business trips are routine, and I don't spend much time at home. If you're willing, we can go register for marriage now, and you can move in with me, John." "I know your situation," my mom told me. I interrupted him, glancing at my constantly ringing phone. "I have to go to the film set with my artist tomorrow, on a business trip for a while." After a moment of silence, he replied, "Okay. Oh, by the way, I'm nearsighted with 500 degrees, and unfortunately, I forgot to wear my glasses today. So I took a taxi there. Just didn't expect a doctor to carry his household registration book around. The Civil Affairs Bureau wasn't crowded, so getting married was quick." After walking out, I asked for his WeChat and gave him a key. "Cloudview Mansion number 7. If you don't know the address, I'll send you the location on WeChat later." John looked at the key in my hand with an unreadable expression, then after a while, softly responded, "I know. As for how the baby came, my ungrateful artist and team insisted on celebrating my single status and got me drunk so hard." Vaguely remember John drove to pick me up, and the ungrateful guys around were cheering and screaming, giving me a headache. When I woke up, it was almost 9 o'clock. Luckily, my flight was at 10:30. I sent a message to my assistant and got up to eat something, almost kneeling down the moment I got out of bed. A 30-year-old man, indeed full of energy. On the bedside table, there was a note with elegant handwriting. "Breakfast is in the microwave. Remember to eat it. Send me a message when you wake up. Have a safe trip. At exactly 9 o'clock. A ding sounded. He sent a message. "Haven't you woken up yet? TSK. Wonder who's to blame," I replied. "Woke up, John. Good." Heat up the breakfast. Before eating breakfast was soup, dumplings and egg drop soup, which surprisingly suited my taste. But time was running out, so I ate quickly and packed my luggage to leave. As soon as I got in the car, the assistant and the unlucky artist teased with an O. I looked at them and scoffed lightly. "Got married. It's reasonable. It's legal." The artist I manage is called James, a rich second generation, 182 centimeters tall, good acting skills, outstanding looks, polite to fans. But he announced his relationship as soon as he debuted. Be stopped. After the announcement, there were no negative impacts. His career flourished. The company let him develop, but I was assigned to take over this unlucky guy. This unlucky guy's father is the company's VIP unlucky investor. The person my unlucky artist announced is the assistant, called Ivy, only 19 years old, sweet and well-behaved. After I spoke, James' bright smile froze, and he said through gritted teeth, "Joy, don't corrupt the minor. Ivy will be 20 next month. She can get married. The age for minors is under 18. James was choked up for a moment, which amused Ivy. After getting off the car, there were a dozen fans on the roadside. Seeing Ivy carrying luggage half her height, the head fan shouted, "James! No sense at all. How could you let Ivy carry the luggage?" Ivy. The fan's affectionate name for Ivy. But James. Because in the Jingzhou 9, he ranks 6th. James paused in his steps, turned around, took the luggage from Ivy's hands, and replied to the fans, "I'm really fed up with you all." After arriving at the hotel, WeChat dinged. John. Arrived. Did this guy install a monitor? I glanced at it and put the phone down without replying. I didn't respond until before bedtime. Arrived. Busy. James is usually somewhat unreliable, but he's quite serious about acting. But the female lead is an overly dramatic, talentless young actress. If she weren't pushed in by the investor, the director would have kicked her out long ago, after the female lead flubbed takes dozens of times. James got angry, sat on the chair with a dark face, unwilling to say a word. I couldn't help but sigh softly and walked over to the director. "Director Sue, everyone is tired today. James feels for everyone's hard work. So let's have a dinner gathering tonight to relax." The director looked at me for a long time, then glanced up at James. I nodded yes. The troublesome VIP investor had added more funding, only making one request: to change the female lead. It was originally a male-led drama, and not much of the female lead scenes had been shot. So the director agreed happily. When the pork dishes were served, the greasy smell made me feel a bit nauseous. Ivy quietly leaned in. "Joy, you're not pregnant, are you?" I looked at her, my face showing "What nonsense are you talking?" However, as one meat dish after another came to the table, steam rose with an indescribable odor, and I truly couldn't stay seated. "Director Sue, I'm not feeling well." The director had drunk a bit too much, seemingly happy about the female lead change, and waved his hand with a smile. Ivy was about to get up, but I pressed her down with my hand. "Go back with James later." "Pregnant?" I stared in horror at the dozen or so pregnancy tests with 2 lines in front of me. Ding. "John, I've been a bit busy lately. Sorry, give me a break." What could keep someone occupied for over a month? But I didn't question him, just asked, "Could drinking affect the baby?" "John, are you pregnant?" Before I could think of how to reply, a voice call came through. "Are you pregnant?" "No. It's my little assistant." There was a long silence on the other end, so extended that I thought head hung up, and I couldn't help but say, "Hello. I'm here. Joy, I am your family." What nonsense is this old man spouting? Get to the point. Will it affect or not? She should go to the hospital to make an appointment and get checked. Usually, it's not recommended to keep it. John's voice was deep, gentle, and magnetic as he earnestly explained a bunch of medical terms. Felt like I was listening to a teacher in school. And I got so drowsy I couldn't help but fall asleep. I was jolted awake by loud knocking at the door. Outside was James. "What's up?" "Old man Sue has taken a liking to Ivy. Isn't that good?" I glanced at James. Ivy has a lovely appearance. Petite and delicate, a youthful beauty with a gentle, sweet demeanor that resembles the female lead character in the drama by over 80%. Ivy becomes famous. Will she still like me? James pointed at himself and said this. My hand holding the water paused, and I turned to look James up and down. "You're quite self-aware." James wanted to say more, but Ivy rushed in and pulled him away. At the door, she looked back at me. "Joy, do you want to take a break?" I nodded, still uneasy, and added, "I'll rest this morning. If anything comes up, have them coordinate with me." Ivy nodded, completely unaware of James frantically gesturing behind her. When she turned back, James was already standing properly to the side. After registering at the hospital, I explained my situation. The doctor scolded me sternly and then said, "I recommend you get a Down syndrome screening at 3 months. I nodded and noted the schedule in my calendar. Back on set, I saw the director fawning over James, speaking humbly and bending over. It had been almost 2 months since joining the crew. And I'd never seen director Sue be so submissive to James, just as I was wondering. I heard a few lines of dialogue. I want to give it a try. No acting allowed. Ivy widened her eyes, staring unblinkingly at James. 5, 4, 3. I counted down silently in my heart before I reached one. I heard a loud wah, and the entire set echoed with crying. Ivy always has a way with James. James knows she's faking but can't refuse, seeing James agree. I stepped in and said, "Director, although our Ivy is an assistant, the contract still needs to be signed properly." Sure enough, changing people made a difference. The entire crew's faces were filled with excitement over shipping them, with everyone thinking real CP is so shippable. Ivy was very perceptive, learned quickly, and progress was much faster than expected. At 3 months. I went to the hospital for a checkup after getting the report. The doctor looked at it and told me, "The results are fine, but you should have a prenatal anomaly scan at 6 to 7 months. I nodded and said, "Thank you, doctor." My belly wasn't really showing. But Ivy still noticed something was up. "Joy, you've been eating so nutritiously lately. Are you expecting?" I glanced at her and didn't answer. She looked at me teasingly, muttering, I get it. Since the last phone call. John had been missing for over a month. A doctor's job is busier than my agent's. John. Sorry. I've been in closed training recently and just finished. John. When are you coming back? John. The first ran into your mom at your place and told her I'm your boyfriend. John. Let's talk about getting married when you're back. As if he appears as soon as I mention him, who cares? My phone was face down on the table, but my gaze kept drifting back to IT. It seemed like he actually started having more free time, sending a few messages every day. More or less. 5 months passed quickly. On the way back, Ivy asked me, "Joy, is your husband handsome?" I suddenly realized that in 5 months, I hadn't video called him once. At most. I made a few voice calls. James looked at my dazed expression and knowingly answered Ivy's question. Your Joy is face blind. It's hard for her to remember someone after meeting them once. That's true. Originally, James was scouted by me when I returned to my alma mater for a ceremony. But I wasn't responsible for managing people. So a month after James signed the contract, I ran into him at a bar entrance and brought it up again. Remember James holding my business card and couldn't help saying, "Damn, sis, are you messing with me?" After getting off the plane, I looked at James and said, "You have a week to rest. Director said there's offline promotion next week." After saying goodbye to them, I went to the hospital again. Yes. Right after landing, my phone alarm went off, reminding me I needed a checkup. After registering, I sat on the waiting chair, waiting for my number to be called. Number 26. Joy, please go to the second consultation room. I checked my ticket and followed the signs to the second consultation room. What's going on? The voice sounded familiar. I glanced over and saw an unfamiliar face, pregnant. Before I could say anything, the doctor looked up at me and asked, "Did you find another man?" I froze for a moment, then flared up, "You're a doctor, focus on your job instead of spreading rumors." He stared at me for a long time, took off his glasses, stood up, and walked over. His eyes were dark as ink but held a hint of gentleness. "Don't you recognize me?" "Why should I?" "Joy, I'm John." John emphasized the last 2 words heavily, as if reminding me of John. Damn. My annoying husband since our flash marriage, living separately ever after because I never saved his contact. I couldn't place the name right away. He seemed to enjoy my surprised and guilty expression, looking at me teasingly as if waiting for a satisfactory answer. John took me to the examination. He called someone else to cover, took off his white coat, and pulled me out of the consultation room. He held my hand, trembling slightly, noticing my gaze. He turned back to look at me. "Joy, I'm also a first-time father." All right. The head of gynecology was a woman with a very kind face. smiling as she asked, "Pregnant. How far along?" I looked at John, and he answered, "Should be 5 months, she drank before getting pregnant. Probably a lot beer." I added, "As long as it's alcohol." "You need to be careful, John. You're a bit reckless in your actions." My fault. Who would have thought it would happen on the first try? First, do an amniocentesis and umbilical cord blood analysis to clarify the fetus development. The director wrote the diagnosis while adding, "The young lady is already 5 months pregnant. Aren't you taking her home to see?" Is this director meddling a bit too much? John took the examination slip from the director. She just got back from a business trip. "Let's do the checkup first, if there's a problem. We can't keep the baby. Go ahead." The examination process went quite smoothly. John helped me sit down on the waiting chair outside, crouched down, and asked softly, "Shall I take you home?" This man's looks are no less than a celebrity's. I was dazzled for a moment and didn't answer immediately. Okay. He raised his hand and patted my head. "Wait here for a while. I'll go change clothes." I held back but couldn't resist saying to him, "You're patting me like a dog." John stopped, turned back to look at me, and gave me a definite answer. "Joy. I've only patted dogs like this, just got home. My mom called. Joy. Bring your boyfriend home for dinner tonight." I looked at John. He nodded. John brought a lot of stuff, filling the entire trunk. I exclaimed, "Wow. First time visiting. And you?" John glanced at my belly. "There has to be some courtesy." I slowly gave a thumbs up. Social etiquette. Impressive as hell. However, an unexpected thing happened. The person who opened the door looked familiar, with a style completely different from John's, seeming like a gentle and elegant artist. Point 3. Brother John. "Hello." John nodded in acknowledgement. I quietly pulled my mom, who was dressed flamboyantly, into the kitchen and whispered, "Who is this? Why is he in our house?" "He's my best friend's son. Named Michael. Looks good. Right? I was going to set you two up on a blind date." "My best friend's son." The old lady chattered proudly. "But my daughter has good taste. John looks more steady. Speaks gracefully." John in the living room seemed to notice my gaze, said something to Michael, then got up and walked towards me. "What's wrong?" "Not feeling well." I waved my hand and pulled John towards my bedroom. "Joy. It's almost time to eat." "Wait a minute." After I closed the door, I blurted out, "Who are you?" John's worry subsided a bit, looking at me seriously, and replied, "John, you're not my mom's best friend's son, Joy. You didn't give me a chance to say it. It's indeed my fault, but we just met for the first time." John looked at me with a complicated expression, silent for a moment. "Joy. It's not the first time we've met, not the first time. I'm not sensitive to faces, but someone with John's demeanor. You can tell at a glance he's not into the entertainment industry. Joy." "John. Come eat." The old lady called just in time. Choking back the words I wanted to ask, John pulled my hand to his cheek. "Joy. Let's talk about it when we get home." "Okay." The older man acting cute is really hard to resist. On the way home, John was driving. The continuous low pressure made me speak up. "Aren't you going to say something?" "John. 30 years old. Doctor, tell me something I don't know. Why did you go on a blind date with me?" John glanced at me when he had a chance. "I just got off work. Went there to clear my mind, after you saw me. You didn't give me a chance to interject, but why would you? You were the one who brought up marriage, but..." "First, I'm a normal man." John paused, opening his mouth until the tips of his ears turned red, then added, "Second, I like you." "Joy." I turned my head to look at him in surprise. "But I've never met you." Opened the glove compartment, opened it to find 2 marriage certificates and a rather childish stuffed toy, looking for something. 5 years ago. At South University. I picked up the toy and examined it carefully, feeling a sense of familiarity. As we neared home, I suddenly remembered someone. John's eyelashes fluttered slightly, and he gave a soft hum. I was mortified. Go to the guest room. I blocked John from entering the bedroom and shut the door, mortified. Mortified. 5 years ago. The fortune teller in our dorm suddenly sidled up to me mysteriously. Joy. I've cast a fortune for you, tonight at Lover's Lake. There's a surprise. What surprise? A man. I joked, handing her a gold bracelet from my side. Take it as a token for your good omen. Fortune telling shouldn't go unpaid. The fortune teller beamed as she took the bracelet. Thanks for the reward. You'll thank me later. During our 4 years sharing a dorm, the other 3 had all gotten into relationships. One of them even got married right after her 20th birthday. While I was still alone, on my way to the library in the East District, I passed Lover's Lake. It was winter, so the streets were sparsely populated. Just as I reached the lake, I ran into John and his girlfriend, who seemed to be arguing. Then I saw John get slapped by her. As the woman walked past me, I realized it was Chen Niao, the campus beauty from the finance department. Then, out of nowhere, John suddenly collapsed. I wasn't far from him, but glancing around, there wasn't a soul in sight. So I called the campus clinic while running over to him. Are you okay? Do you have any medicine on you? The campus medics are on their way. Hang in there. He had pink hives all over his face, was deathly pale, and covered in sweat. Looking terrifying, he lifted a hand but didn't grab me. Instead, he grabbed the toy. Struggling to say something, the campus clinic was in the North District, and their response was lightning fast. They arrived quickly, loaded him onto a stretcher, and took him away. Feeling I couldn't help further, I didn't follow and instead untied the toy from my backpack. Of course, that wasn't the embarrassing part. The real humiliation came the night before graduation when I got drunk and, desperate to find someone, boldly confessed to a random person. The next morning, after sobering up, my roommate told me I'd confessed to John. He must have remembered me. Or why would he look at me with such a complicated expression? John knocked on my door. Time for breakfast, I responded, pulled on a loose, fluffy pajama set, and opened the door to find John standing there in loungewear. Didn't you go first? Is the baby acting up? I looked at John without speaking, suddenly realizing we'd never sat down to talk properly, whether about marriage or the baby. It all seemed to appear out of nowhere for him. Feeling unwell, I shook my head. Aren't you working today? Took the day off today. I'm taking you to the Smith family home to meet my parents. John studied me as if gauging my discomfort. Isn't this a bit rushed? He helped me sit down and pushed the food closer. The baby's 5 months along. Right. Maybe you're just in good shape. Your belly isn't that big, which is why your mom hasn't asked a thing. I froze, recalling how yesterday, in loose clothes, my mom had only pulled me aside to ask if I'd gained weight, never suspecting I was pregnant. A joy. Calling me that sounds like when my mom scolds me. John seemed to smile. A joy. Eat first. It'll take an hour to get to the family home. You can nap a bit. I shook my head and looked out the window. Joy. Tell me what's on your mind. You said you like me. When? 5 years ago. Was it because I saved you? I turned back to look at him. Joy. You are excellent. My teacher has mentioned you. John thought for a moment, then added, that was the first time you saw me. Not my first time seeing you. But you had a girlfriend back then. John turned around in confusion and glanced at me. Watch the road. Don't get distracted. He pondered for a while before hesitantly uttering a name. Chen Niao. Isn't that it? A classmate from my doctoral program pretended to use my identity for an online romance. I only found out later. John paused. Joy. I've never dated before. If anything feels off, you can tell me directly. I nodded, leaned back in the chair, closed my eyes, and didn't respond further. After entering the house, his parents were sitting in the living room. John's mother looked familiar. Young lady, come sit here. Wow, it was that gynecologist from that day. I threw a pleading look at John. and John gently shook his head. John, come upstairs with me. John's mother lightly patted my hand, looked up, and instructed, Old Smith, be gentle, why didn't you let me speak? John lay face down on the bed, buried his head, and mumbled, whether we have the marriage certificate or not, getting you pregnant before taking you back to the ancestral home to register in the family tree means this beating is deserved. So many rules. Your family is a bit complicated. Have you heard of the Smith family? The 9 great families? I thought for a moment, then asked, do you know James? James is the artist you manage, and you. I rank 3rd. Michael ranks 8th. Michael. John nodded slightly. Didn't you attend the banquet with James and hear about the 9 sons of the prominent families? John tilted his head slightly, eyes still closed. Actually, it's just a few standout representatives from the 9 prominent families. Don't think James is unreliable. At 17, he transformed the Brown family's near-bankrupt subsidiary into a top-tier brand, and you. Me. John opened his eyes, teased with a smile, so eager to learn about my businesses. Don't rush. It's all yours. Why didn't your dad sew your mouth shut? My furious expression amused him. He reached out, grabbed my hand, and gently stroked it. I don't enjoy business, but I must contribute to the family. My father is from the 2nd branch of the Smith family. The 1st branch has no children, and the 3rd branch has 2 daughters. So I am the primary heir to the Smith family's enterprises. John recounted details of his past life. But I always felt he was feigning vulnerability to gain sympathy. When my mother found out I was pregnant, she nearly flayed me alive. John intervened and spoke extensively with her behind my back. The engagement party went smoothly, but the wedding itself was postponed when the baby was nearly 7 months along. I took a leave of absence from work. James heard about it and visited, looking at John, then at me, and after a long pause, uttered, Sis. It was the first time I'd seen James looking so timid and well-behaved then. His prepared accusations got stuck in his throat. He pulled a card from his wallet. For the little nephew. I'll head out now. After seeing James off, John took me back to the hospital for an anomaly scan. The results showed no issues. Taking the report, I suddenly recalled a checkup from months ago. John, how were the results from the last exam? John gave me a complicated look. Joy, I told you before. The results were fine. Thought someone as clever as me wouldn't suffer from pregnancy brain for years, with pregnancy weighing me down. My profession being unique made work impractical, and I didn't want anyone waiting on me. John also disliked outsiders at home, so he handled everything personally until full term. I hadn't met any other members of the 9 sons of the prominent families, perhaps because my sympathetic gaze was too intense. When John returned from work, he hesitated at the door. What would you like to eat, John? Before I could finish, tears streamed down uncontrollably. His face flashed panic. He rushed over, crouched before me. What's wrong? Being pregnant. Even trivial matters make me cry endlessly. For instance, now. I sobbed and asked him, are you not doing well in the prominent family circle? His hand paused while reaching for tissues. Why do you say that? Look, no one else has visited for so long. James only came because I took leave. Oh joy. If you want to see them, I'll have them come over. He touched my hair and gently kissed my forehead. I'll cook for you first. Okay. I nodded. According to my mother-in-law, John never lifted a finger to do housework. But since I came back until now, it's been John cleaning the house and cooking. Still haven't met the other members of the 9 princes of Jingzhou. At night, my stomach hurt badly, seeing me in pain. John took me to the hospital. After being admitted, I came to my senses, held his hand, and said, I don't want you to enter the delivery room, Joy. I'm a surgeon, not an obstetrician. Seeing my puzzled look, he sighed. It's my mom. The gynecology department is short-staffed, so she just asked me to confirm the diagnosis. You're a surgeon. Why do you know gynecology? Medical school teaches general medicine, not just specializations. And besides, with my mom. Hearing this, I froze for a moment, then never looked at him again. How could I? So sharp. Ask such a dumb question. During childbirth, I only felt agony, secretly vowing I'd never have a second child. Whoever wants to be a mom can do it. Without kids or grandkids. I'll enjoy life. When I regained clarity, I saw John sitting rigidly on a nearby chair, brows deeply furrowed, staring irritably at the baby in the crib. John, feeling better? John sat beside me. You've worked hard, boy or girl? John stayed silent. Just then, my mother-in-law, off duty, entered the room. He didn't even glance at the child. It was old Song who brought him back. Truly inhumane. Oh. It's a boy, named Song Jin. The child's full moon. I finally met the legendary 9 princes of Jingzhou, truly representatives of the 9 great families. Each a formidable top figure. James was drunk, resting a hand on the chair behind me. Joy. John, to let you rest during pregnancy. Not only kept others from knowing about you but threatened me, forbidding me to spill it. Ivy glanced at John's dark expression, stood up, pulled James' hand away, and scolded. James, sit properly. On the way home, I kept staring at John, perhaps unable to bear my gaze. He said awkwardly, Joy, if you want to ask something, just ask. Do you have another name? He looked up at the rearview mirror, met my eyes briefly, then focused back on the road. Yes, John Smith. I wasn't familiar with the name John Smith, but John Smith. I knew it well when I managed James. James acted in a drama with 2 male leads. The other lead was a diva who performed poorly, making him lose his temper on the spot. Then he angered his father, who cut off his funding. He couldn't secure investment, couldn't replace the other actor. And after crying and wailing for over half a month, suddenly brought me a contract, saying he got funding. The party on the contract was John Smith. After I rest, I'll return to the ancestral home, get into the family genealogy first, and then you'll know back at the ancestral home. Sitting with the women of the Smith family, I slowly pieced it together. Men of the Smith family, after 20, go by their courtesy names and are recorded in the genealogy. In the Smith family rules, 1 states the Smith family can only be widowed, not divorced. Outsiders marrying in, even if childless, cannot divorced. In John's generation, there's only John as the male heir. Luckily, no pressure was applied to marriage. The Smith family's 3rd branch has 2 daughters, one career-focused, managing part of the Smith family's business, the other a newcomer just entering the entertainment industry. When the elders left, the girl with shining eyes stared intently at me. I am Lucy. Are you Joy? Call her sister-in-law. No manners. The serious woman beside her patted her head. Sister-in-law. Im Songshi, sister-in-law. Can I apply with Boss Liao to have you manage me? Huiwei Media was founded by Chairman Liao Zhenghua in his youth to promote his wife Tong Yu. Tong Yu announced her retirement from acting in marriage after winning her 5th Best Actress award. To date, none of the artists under her team have been scandal-ridden. I am fortunate. Though young, I've managed a few artists, the last being James, who was quite easy to handle. Almost like starting retirement. You're too lively. Don't bother your sister-in-law too much. John's voice came from behind me, his hands on my shoulders, leaning down to ask. Tired? We can go home, John. Lucy pouted unhappily and snorted. I smiled, patted John's hand, and looked at Lucy. After I return to the company, I'll see what the company arranges. After being home for months, whether Boss Liao wants me as a manager is another story. Lucy happily started pestering Songshi. When Song Jin was 6 months old, John suddenly asked me, What do you think about holding a wedding banquet? What? Why hold a wedding banquet when the child is already this big? We can also collect some money. John held the child and gently patted him. They say sons are attached to their mothers. But my son cries as soon as I hold him, the moment John takes him. He either falls asleep or giggles happily. Collect money. Then it's up to you, I replied cheerfully, poking Song Jin's cheek with my finger, who knew this ungrateful little one would pout and start wailing loudly. Ungrateful one. Joy. John called softly. He held the child with one hand while gently patting him and grabbed my hand with the other, giving it a light, teasing squeeze. What's the fuss? I'm going back to work tomorrow. Okay. I'm not taking care of the child anymore. Okay. Joy. We can try weaning the child. Besides, haven't I been bottle feeding him breast milk all along? Is it my fault? Isn't it because this ungrateful one cries as soon as he's in my arms? He's choked on milk a few times. And even my mother-in-law couldn't stand it anymore. She waved her hand dismissively and said, John, you feed the child. On my first day back at work, Boss Liao called me into his office and expressed concern for a while. He talked so much that I started feeling drowsy. Boss, I've been working under you for 5 years now. If there's something, just say it directly. On Jameis' side, Ivy has taken over as the agent. So you just need to assist. You're taking on someone new named Lucy. Hey, race the information. I took the documents and flipped through them. The name wasn't familiar. But the photo wasn't this Lucy. Lucy's background isn't clear right now. But her temper is fiercer than Jameis, yet every time she causes trouble, it gets resolved before the company even steps in. You'll be safe with her. You can say that again with the Smith family behind her. She won't be at a disadvantage. I nodded, glancing at Boss Liao unintentionally. He seemed relieved and waved for me to leave. Was he afraid I'd refuse? Lucy said with a grin. My dad and sister said I shouldn't disgrace the Smith family name outside. So I used my mom's surname. I nodded knowingly. Family makes it easier. They say sons are close to their mothers and daughters to their fathers. But little Song Jin clings to John Hold. Duh. Standing in his crib, Song Jin, who could only say simple words, stretched out his hands and called to John, who was reading documents. I slumped on the sofa, looking at John and signaling for him to check on his precious son. John, hold him. John looked at me, then at our son, put down the documents, walked over, sat beside me, and pulled me into his arms. So clingy. Song Jin's eyes darted around for a moment before he pouted and burst into loud sobs. Wah. Look what you did. I struggled free and kicked him lightly. Go soothe your son. John's hand was left empty. His fingers paused briefly, and he clicked his tongue. I think Mom is still young. Well, send him there tomorrow. Song Jin seemed to understand, as his crying stopped abruptly. Song Jin whimpered a few times, turned over, and fell silent. Mom said you were like this as a child too. Really? She was teasing you. I raised my hand and poked John's back. Go take care of your son. The wedding banquet was planned by John with our parents. I wasn't much involved, I have to admit. John has excellent taste. While I was changing clothes, Lucy quietly sidled up to me. Sister-in-law, do you know how much John invested? I shook my head. He told me it wasn't much. She mysteriously held up one finger. I thought for a moment. 1 million. She shook her head like a rattle drum. Add a 0 to that. After the ungrateful one, now a spendthrift. I clutched my chest in dismay. John knocked on the door and walked in, giving Lucy a displeased look. Lucy, get out. Okay, don't listen to her nonsense. John placed a brocade box on the dressing table, took out a necklace, and said, wear this. A silver necklace with a teardrop-shaped pink diamond in the center sparkled brilliantly under the light. John's hand was a bit cold as he clumsily fastened something around my neck, then took my hand, intertwining our fingers. Our joy is so beautiful. After the wedding, John took me to the new house. It was nice. Cloudview Mansion, Unit 9. John pulled me to the dining table. You haven't eaten all this time. Hurry up and have something. The food was still warm. Likely prepared in advance by hired help. I asked, this your old place? He shook his head. I have a dorm at the hospital. This was always meant to be the wedding suite. He took a few bites and set down his utensils. Waiting for me to finish, I rubbed my full stomach and asked, should I sleep in the guest room? Joy. Newlyweds shouldn't sleep apart. He said softly, a smile in his eyes. I am going to wash up. I stood up and hurried away, while he called out slowly behind me, no rush. It's still early. As soon as I stepped out of the bathroom, John pulled me into his arms. You haven't washed up. He didn't answer, resting his head against my neck, his damp hair dripping water. Joy. The older man's energy was even more intense than before. Just as I was about to fall asleep, I remembered the child and asked, where's Ajin? He held me, chuckling softly, and kissed my forehead. At my mom's place. Sleep now. I drifted off hazily, vaguely aware of him murmuring something about the future, about what was to come. There's still plenty of time ahead. For now. Just let me sleep a bit. Was scrolling through short videos and came across one about an elderly person with underlying health conditions passing away, which made me sigh. I opened the comment section. Didn't the doctor say it was fine? How did they die? Must be a quack doctor. What he said was just wordplay. Take it with a grain of salt. Comments like these were everywhere. What's wrong? John placed the glass of milk he was holding on the coffee table. So serious. Are you upset? I stayed silent, seeing me unmoving. He reached over, took my phone, skimmed it briefly, then exited the app, turned off the screen, set it on the table, and gently rubbed my head without saying a word. Aren't you angry? Why should I be angry? But John held my hand and gave it a light squeeze. What do you think doctors are? Or what comes to mind? Saving lives. Selfless dedication. As I was about to launch into a string of praises, he placed the warm milk in my hands. Drink it while it's hot. Joy. I really didn't want to discuss this topic with you. John held my hand, silent for a moment. Then spoke. Known helplessness is more painful than unknown helplessness. My teacher once told us that from birth, people are destined for the crematorium, and doctors can only delay the time, not control it. So in situations like the video, should we be afraid in daily life? When people are down emotionally, combined with poor diet and habits, it's easy to get sick. First, keep a cheerful mood and face things with a positive attitude. Like now, with so many experts saying different things every day, do you think we need personal protection? Joy. To put it plainly, for me, personal protection is about the people I care about. John looked down at me, his eyes bright, his voice gentle. I have to protect you all, even if the chance of something going wrong is only 1%. I don't want any accidents. And there can't be any. I was speechless. John smiled and pulled me into his arms. I'll eventually leave this profession. Someone has to take over the family. You don't want to give it up, do you? I didn't get an answer and was about to look up at him when he pressed my head against his chest. Not really. But there will be regrets. Do what you want to do. I'll be with you. Okay. Joy. With you. There won't be any regrets. Me too. I smiled, echoing the thought in my heart.